The conventional wisdom, which came from arguably the most unconventional election in history, was that Donald Trump had a message people related to. And with just about all the big promises, build a wall or ban what he considered dangerous refugees, for example, there was one theme: America first. But over the past week, Trump has announced changes in policy with dizzying speed on Russia.
We're going to have a great relationship with Putin and Russia.
Right now, we're not getting along with Russia at all. We may be at an all-time low in terms of relationship with Russia.
And then, of course, there was NATO.
We are grateful for the support of NATO members. I said it was obsolete. It's no longer obsolete.
And let's not forget China.
They are the greatest currency manipulators ever. I'm going to instruct my Treasury Secretary to label China a currency manipulator.
Once again, that was then, and this is now, and Trump is telling the Wall Street Journal, quote, they're not currency manipulators. Of course, for Trump's biggest critics, this might be welcome news as the president moves toward a more traditional foreign policy. But that was before today, when the U.S. broke a record by dropping the largest non-nuclear bomb ever on a battlefield, weighing in at 21,000 pounds and known as the mother of all bombs. The Pentagon says was dropped on a cave complex they believe ISIS fighters have been using in Syria. And on this issue was a campaign promise kept by Donald Trump.
I'm going to bomb the shit out of them. It's true. I don't care.
So where does this leave us? Joining me are Carol Savitz, Senior Advisor at MIT's Security Studies Program. Carol, it's good to see you again.
Nice to see
and
you.
Farouk El-Baz, former chair of the National Academy of Sciences, worked for years with NASA, has been an advisor to many American presidents and Egyptian leaders. He's now a professor at BU. Good to see you, Farouk, as well. Can we start today and work backwards? Mother of all bombs. Is it as simple as the administration says, an effort to comprehensively bomb these ISIS tunnels, or is it a warning shot to places like Syria and North Korea? What was today all about?
Well, I don't know if it has to be either or.
That's a very good point.
I was just shocked at the size of the munition that they chose to use. I mean, he claimed he was going to go after ISIS. ISIS, we know, is operating now in Afghanistan. So in that sense, it's not a surprise, but it also sends a signal, just as I would argue that the Tomahawk missile attack on the base in Syria last week, it wasn't a coincidence, as the Russians would say, that it happened while Xi Jinping was with him in Mar-a-Lago, because it's a signal to North Korea as well. And I think it's part of this, we're great.
Do you agree that it's both things? It's both a warning shot to these countries as well as a sincere effort to go at ISIS?
I agree very much, and I think it's timed very practically, and it shows that the man is learning on the job. That's a good positive.
Speaking of learning on the job, he's flipped on NATO, as he said. He's ended the bromance, at least temporarily, with Vladimir Putin. These warning shots in Syria. America First Trump supporters are obviously not very happy. But people like you, who do what you do for a living, is this a more mature, traditional foreign policy that might get some bipartisan support?
It's a very positive sign of learning on the job. If you are in this job and then you see things that you've never heard about before and you were not exposed to them before, and then you see it and then you react correctly, I think we should salute it. We should say this is a good positive.
But is it because the bar is so low for this guy, or is it legit? Are the actions good, or is just the expectation of Donald Trump on the foreign policy
Again, I think it's
so
both.
low?
I'm not equivocating. I think it's
fine.
both. I think it's a question of this is a much more traditional American foreign policy, and that's
now, yes,
and that's a good thing. But he's flipped, as you said in your introduction, so many times on so many issues. How do we know that this is going to be long term? That this is the new American foreign policy, as opposed to we love Russia, right? That this could be temporary. We just don't know.
Do you know Assad?
Yes. No, I know his father.
You knew his father?
Yeah, I know his father.
Well, then you know the family.
Yes.
Did these strikes, as Carol said a minute ago, did they send the right message
yes, absolutely.
to the younger Assad?
Yes, indeed.
Why do you say that?
And to all the people that are around him, because they realize that America is going to not do what it says it will do from Obama's time. And they expanded much further since then, and they now see that it is going to be serious, and they're going to be hit, and the U.S. is going to show its muscle vis-a-vis these people in Syria.
But do you not worry, like many, even some serious Democrats gave him praise, but went on to say, What's the plan?
Right.
Okay, you did a good thing. You showed you're not Barack Obama. You diverted attention like you do masterfully. But do you not worry that there's no plan? The secret plan
No,
is
he's
that
already
there's
announced
no plan?
he's not going into Syria. It's kind of like all the criticism that President Obama got when he said, well, we're going to go into Afghanistan with the surge and then pull out by X date.
Yeah, but the infamous Sean Spicer has said we may hit Syria again. Don't assume we... He mentioned that barrel bomb embarrassment the other day. Obviously, he had no idea what he was talking about.
Right.
But he said we may strike Syria again, so you don't know that it's over.
The interesting thing, and I would love to ask you a question, is I would argue that Assad used the chemical weapons without getting Putin's okay. And that Putin is undoubtedly furious at him because it really seemed as if Tillerson and Nikki Haley and the Trump administration was tilting towards the Russian position about Assad not needing to go.
Not Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley was saying there needs to be regime change.
No, now,
Tillerson was clearly there.
Right. Yeah.
So do you buy that the Russians, how could the Russians not know about these chemical weapons?
The Russians have control, and the Russians would be there, and the Russians were told about all kinds of things, but they don't have to say that we heard about it. So the Syrians can do things, but we salute the Russians, tell them about it, and do what they want, and Russia can say, well, you never heard about it.
I don't want this to be a Trump love-a-thon. However, one more thing, China in the last 24 hours has gotten tougher with North Korea.
Yes.
A lot of commentators are saying it's because of the meeting in Mar-a-Lago between Trump and Xi that this happened. Does Trump deserve credit for this too?
Absolutely, and you bet that Trump, when Trump meets with Putin later, they will come out of the room the best friends. Trump is waiting to see how can he work with these people. He wants to make deals, and he
you think he has the skills that he says he does?
I want to jump in on two things. First of all, it's important to note that at the UN yesterday, when there was the resolution condemning the Syrian use of chemical weapons,
that the Russians
vetoed, but China abstained.
Yeah.
So you think that's a function too?
I think that's a function of it, and I also think an interesting side is, remember, Henry Kissinger went to play the China card against Russia. I think that Putin or somebody around him is signaling with this friendship with the Chinese now that we have other places to go to, and it's pressure on Putin.
I want to get through two more things quickly if I can. Not only did the president meet with President al-Sisi when he was here, you did.
Yes.
Many critics are saying he was far too friendly with a man who does not love democracy, al-Sisi, does not love human rights.
Yes.
Did Donald Trump not fawn too much and was far too positive about al-Sisi than he should have been?
Not at all.
Why not?
al-Sisi is one guy that is standing against terrorism on all sides, and he's helping the Libyans, he's helping the Syrians, he's helping everybody against terrorism, and therefore this is a huge country. It has a very essential role in the Middle East. It is stabilizing the relationship between...
So you have to accept imperfection.
Absolutely.
You quickly?
Yeah. I think that we're going back towards a policy that says who's ever in charge, who can keep the lid on, that's whom we support.
Last thing, this gets back to your first point. Do you expect, be Nostradamus for a second, should we expect more evolution on the part of Donald Trump to a more traditional policy, or is it a day-by-day situation?
Well, I think it's both a day-by-day thing, but I would agree that he seems to be learning a little bit. I also think it's not coincidental that Bannon was shifted off of the NSC the day before we launched the Tomahawk missiles.
He may be shifted to the dreaded private sector, too. Quickly, do you agree?
Yes, absolutely. The man is figuring out what to do next by being in Washington, and that should be something that we should encourage.
Great to see you both. Thanks so much for your point of view.
Appreciate it.
Great to see you. Thank you so much.